All right, guys, let's get into this DeLorean. Should be a short video, relatively short, because there's really not much to say about this. They did a great job. After owning the first, well, I've owned two of the Mark Ones, and I own two of the Mark Twos. I turned one of the Mark Twos into a Mark Three. I built the train wheels, or I paid a guy to build the train wheels. I worked with him on all the dimensions and the looks and everything like that. And then he finally printed them out for me, 3D printed them. And then also with the train wheels, I also built my own hood component completely from scratch. And I think I did a pretty good job. If you look at the movie shots or even the shots of the Hot Toys one here, obviously it doesn't look as professional or anything. It's totally scratch built, just things I found around the house that I could use and shit like that. But I think it was pretty freaking cool. I was surprisingly happy with how it turned out. But anyway, yeah. So this looks amazing. I do plan on picking this up. I actually might be getting two of them because I can't decide on how to display it. I don't know if I want to display. I mean, I want both. I want to display it with the red 55 tires, and I also want to display it with the 85 train wheels. And I still have my Back to the Future Part 3 display that I made with the train tracks and all that jazz. So I'm glad I did not get rid of that. But yeah, if I can swing it, I'm going to try to get two of these so I can display both versions. Anyway, so yeah, everything looks good. Obviously, the overall car is going to be the exact same mold as the Mark II and the Mark I. They're not going to change that. They don't need to because it's the same car. So everything looks great. The hood component looks amazing. I do wonder how that's attached. I don't know how the straps are, like how they are underneath the hood, if they're like glued on or whatever, attached like that, or if the actual wood component is like stuck on with magnets or something, but that's yet to be seen. So I'm curious about that, but it looks great. Really, the only thing about this car with this version that I could, though obviously I want to change the wires. I can't stand the wires they put on these cars. I always take them off and put my own more movie accurate wires with cable ties on, which is a pain in the butt. I've done it to literally four. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I've done it to 4 of these DeLoreans already. So I'm not looking forward to doing all that again, but it's totally worth it when you're done. But anyways, yeah, so as you can tell, the car is way jacked up, and that's because the 1955 tires that they put on in the movie, they didn't fit in the wheel wells. The DeLorean tires that came with it were much smaller, and so they had to jack up the car to get the tires to fit. And as you can see, they're like under the wheel well, not like in it, if that makes any sense. So you can tell it sits a lot higher. Now the thing with that is in the movie, here's some shots of the movie. In the movie, you can tell that the rear end sags a lot more and the front end sits way higher. So it's kind of like pointing up. And that's not a deal breaker or anything. I mean, it still looks great. That's just me being very, very movie accurate and, wanting everything to be as close as possible. But yeah, the rear end should sit a little lower, and the front end should sit a little higher. But then again, since these wheels are switchable with the train wheels, I don't think they really could do that. Because then when you put the train wheels on, they wouldn't look right. So I don't know how they did the axles. Obviously, like I said, the entire rest of the car should be the exact same as the Mark I and Mark II. And they had to somehow lower the axles off the frame to fit these tires. And then when you put the train tires on, it doesn't look jacked up. So I'm really curious on how they did that. Yeah, I'm really curious how they did that. It looks like on the train tires that the front tires are slightly bigger than the rear. This could be an optical illusion with the pictures. but the rear tires do look smaller for sure. And as far as I know, in the work that I did, finding this stuff out when I was building my Mark III, they should be the exact same. They should be the exact same tires. Now the wheel wells are much bigger, so the rear tire should look smaller than the front tire just because of that optical illusion. But in some of these pictures, it looks like the tires are different sizes, which wouldn't be accurate. But again, it could be that optical illusion. But the train tires do look great. Now there's shots in the movie where the tires look a lot more black than rusty brown like this. But then there's other shots where they do look brown and rusty. So, you know, when you're shooting a movie and you're working with 2 or 3 cars, the continuity is always going to be an issue. You know, things that most people don't ever even notice. But if you're a freak like me, you notice that stuff. Or if you're trying to rebuild something, you notice that stuff when you're doing your references and homework and everything. But the train tires do look great. I do love the welding sods that you can see on the outside. The bolts and the holes in there, that looks all movie accurate. That looks really good. Again, the hood component looks great. They are missing the Pepsi logos that are on the hood component on the wood, but obviously they can't put that on there for copyright reasons, and I'm sure they did not want to pay Pepsi for that. So, but everything else really looks movie accurate and good. And yeah, there is a meter. There is some stuff, since I've done all my homework and research on the hood component when I was trying to rebuild mine from scratch. There is some stuff that's missing on the hood component that they missed. Like there is a black meter sticking out the side of that big gray thing with the hoses sticking out with the holes in it. There's a meter that's supposed to be there. But other than that, you know, who's really gonna fucking oh, there's a little meter there. There's only me would do that. But I do notice that's missing, but that's definitely not a deal breaker or anything. Now, with all of these DeLoreans, the inside, there's a bunch of missing wires on the inside, on the dash, and it comes down and wraps around underneath the dash and stuff like that. Now maybe I can find a picture of it, but I did add those wires to my DeLoreans when I was modifying them to make them look more movie accurate. Sorry, just looking at these pictures here. Actually, oh, they did add some wires. Okay, so on this Mark III, they did at least add those thicker black wires in front of the steering wheel on the dash. And it looks like maybe a little bit more wiring too. They did add some wires, but yeah, that's nice. But there's still some more in there that needs to be in there for it to be really movie accurate. Yeah. So other than let's go back. See, other than the train tires, 55 tires, and the hood component, everything else is the same. They did add a couple wires on the inside that should be there, and they added. It looks like they did add the, or they're going to add the temperature gauge for the fire burning on the train. So that's really cool. Again, guys, there's not much to say about this. It does look great. Like I said, it should be sitting a little differently on the tires, a little bit higher, but totally can live with that. That's fine. Hood component looks great. Missing one thing that I can tell. I'm going to put on more movie accurate wires as I usually do. I do have if you look back in my old videos, when I built my Mark III out of the Mark II, I did build a huge train display for it as well. And I'm glad I kept that because I might be pulling that bad boy back out now. But yeah, we don't know if they're gonna. I highly, highly doubt this is gonna come with any train tracks. Maybe. I mean, you never know. But when I built my display, I had the whole thing. I had the backdrop. I had, the rocks, the grass, all that stuff, like trees. But yeah, this looks great, guys. I'm glad they're releasing this. And it does look like... Okay, now here, see these logs here? These logs, I built these with my display. That would be an awesome add-on if they gave you those logs. They're not going to do that, but that would be cool if they gave you those logs as well. Yeah, so anywho, you see all these other wires here, all these other extra wires coming down. Those wires are also in the Mark 1 and Mark 2 as well, but they're not, Hot Toys didn't make those. So I added all those wires inside my cars before I sold them all. One other thing I could say, maybe... Oh, this would be cool. Okay, real quick. This would be cool. It's how they have the DeLorean sitting up on this stand, this wood stand, and it rolls down onto the tracks. That'd be kind of cool to make. That would be really cool to make. And maybe you could make that and then have another DeLorean underneath it, sort of. Like, that'd be pretty cool. Sorry, now I'm thinking about all these ideas. It does look like, if you look at the hood component on the real version in the movie, and then you look at the one on the Hot Toys, I would say it's a little oversized. Just slightly oversized, a little too big. Yeah, it's definitely a little bigger, but again, that's not, that's totally nitpicking like crazy. Yeah, guys, overall, it looks amazing. I'm definitely planning on picking these up. I made mine because I knew they were going to do this, but I'm just way too impatient. So months and months ago when I built mine, I was like, plus, I'm just a builder. I like trying to, I'm just kind of crafty like that. I love trying to do stuff. So I was just trying to see if I could actually do it and if it would look decent. So, but I knew eventually they were going to do this and drop this. And so that's why when I sold mine, it wasn't that big a deal. I was like, yeah, I'm sure down the road they'll make this and I'll get it anyway. So, but I really do love the red tires, the red 55s. It's so cool. That's awesome. I think I'd rather display it like that within the train wheels, but knowing the train wheels are there, it's like I can't, especially with the track that I already built with the train tracks. It's like I gotta have both. That's the way it is. So yeah, hope everyone who wants this is pre-ordering it. Here's some shots of my Mark III that I built with the train wheels and the hood component. I don't know what to call that thing. I just call it the hood component. And then here's some shots of the more, I would say, more movie accurate wires that I add on to all my DeLoreans. There's a closer shot of the hood component. Now that's all, this is literally all stuff I just found at the house. There's only a couple things I went to Michael's craft store and bought. I literally just walked around the store with a picture of the hood component from the movie, and I was just trying to find pieces that were shaped right. I knew I could paint anything a certain color. I was looking for shape and size, and I'm like, oh, that looks like that piece. I could put that there, and that's all I did. And now if you look in the top left corner, those are batteries that I cut down and put and took off the labeling and put those there. I got some metal wire that I turned into looks like a spring or wires. The big gray part is a electrical box that came with this little lighting thing that I had. Added some fuses in there. The big light bulb looking thing was just a little plastic jar for miniatures or whatever, and then I added I cut off the actual copper part off the end of a light and put that on there, and then just little stuff like that, the green and red screws on the bottom that had the wires coming off of that, those are literally just screws that I cut and painted. It's just, you know, scratch build. It's just whatever I could find, you know. The straps were like this little skinny leather bracelet that I found at Michael's. Cut that up. The handles the straps are on was like an earring. And I just cut it in half and glued it on there. So, I mean, totally just whatever I could find to make it look like it. And I was pretty happy with it. Obviously, it's not going to be like Hot Toys or anything like that, but I mean, it was pretty cool for just being scratch build. So, anyways, I went on a tangent with that. Sorry, I totally forgot what I was actually talking about. Oh, that's another thing. It would be cool if they weathered it more. If they could weather these versions, because obviously they're super dusty. They're out in the Midwest. They're out in the West. You know, you're getting all dirt and dusty and whatever. Like, it would be cool if they could throw some weathering on this. They won't. Now, you can tell on my Mark III, I added some dirt and weathering. The best I could. I really didn't know what I was doing, but you can tell I added some dirt and weathering, especially with the dust all over the car and on the windshield. And I made it to where like it looked like the windshield wipers, you know, cleaned the spot out. Yeah, that'd be cool if they could do that. And that would really distinguish this version from the Mark II and Mark I. But I don't think, highly doubt they're going to add some weathering. So anyway, all right, guys. So that's about it. I do plan on picking 2 of these up if I can make it happen. I would love to display both versions. And let's just hope and pray that they spend a little more time on this one than they did on Mark II. And that they make sure the quality is good and we don't have any wheels falling off. So, all right, guys, that's about it. Yeah, so I do plan on making maybe another video on the 89 Jazz Inc. Batmobile. We will see. We'll see about that. And, yeah, so until next time, see you guys later.